G'day people, CzarThwomp here, and welcome to episode 8 of the Grey Ace Attorney 2 Resolve. Last time, we completed the first case, and we convicted Minameno, and we learned that there are secrets involved behind the scenes, and that there was more to why Susada was brought back to Japan in the 5th case of the first game. But anyways, now we're going to move on to episode 2, the Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. Let's go. Start playing from the beginning. Yes, we are going to start playing. Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road. As the victim lay at death's door, the mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved. But no sooner had my friend saved that Eastern Exchange student from his harrowing plight, than in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day. Haunted apartment of death, the condemned criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas. Yet, though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, it only proved to be the overture that announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
My name is Runosuke Naruto. I'm a fledgling lawyer, just starting out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law, having made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings, from where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I've successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particularly grueling and unforgivable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return. But that epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale, a tale which was now about to awaken from slumber, thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. What a delicious smell wafting up the stairs. It must be nearly time for breakfast. I'd better go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate. We can't investigate the apartment. We can't investigate the attic. 30th of August, 7:28 a.m. Sholmes' suite.
Ah, Bruno, good! I was about to call up to you. The bacon's ready.
Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. I had a surprise this morning. Shh! Not another word, Mr. Naruto! I'm hearing the voices again. I'm going to find them.
No, it's just the opium.
Nonsense! The opium allows me to tune into them. It's like a radio antenna, Iris. It lets me hone in on them. I will find the voices telling me to throw rocks at the children. This could be just the abstruse thing for my pre-breakfast stagnation-repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. Morning to you too, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, I see. So that's it! This is what it's like to violate someone's personal space. This is gonna be the screenshot for this episode. The truth is as clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it to me again. What are you talking about? You, Mr. Naruto, you have this very morning met with a surprise. Well, is that not the case? Really, my dear fellow, it barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button on your jacket. Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to you having been flustered this morning. Can I talk now? But of course, though I don't look for admiration, you understand. Just your unending praise. My hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you.
Oh, has it?
And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember. By you. You got really perturbed.
And he pulled your button off?
Yes, I apparently was trying to reach into his upper drawer. I told you not to touch the upper drawer. That's why I keep my opium. Ah, yes, I recall that incident now. It was after supper, was it not? As the evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped. Why did it have to snap, and why? I little wonder then that in my vexation, I got the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. Yes, don't rip your own button off, Holmes. Just reach over and rip Rian Hasuke's button off. Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. And it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere there about on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. What matters at the present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring.
But Andy, Bruno said it when he came in, didn't he? I had a surprise this morning.
Don't take this away from me, Iris. This is all I have this morning. Well, that really is a surprise. Guys, just great introduction to Sherlock. Just perfectly captures who he is as a person. Yes, this man is the pride of the British Empire, the famous consulting detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name.
All right then, enough of this silly conversation. Come and eat this bacon before it goes cold. And I have a new herbal tea for you to try too, my latest special blend.
And here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes' lodger and companion. A truly exceptional young girl who's the author of a highly successful serialization here in London.
I run the town.
Yes, the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes is published in Rance magazine.
So, Mr. Naruto, won't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning?
Well, I received a letter from Japan.
Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it really?
That's right, and she has some rather startling news, in fact. Sorry. Ah, intriguing indeed. You must tell us all about it over breakfast.
Oh, yes, what fun.
We have to examine everything. When it gets to this time of year, Londoners seem to leave their hearths alight all day long, and I love it. There's something very relaxing about watching the flames split and dance about. But a fireplace in days of summertime is a waste of space, really. No use at all.
Rather like a great detective in days of no crimes and no criminals, Hurley. That's why I have to create the crime, so you can solve it out there where you can clean the streets.
Yes, now I'm imagining this Irish creating a criminal empire, just so that way Sherlock has a never-ending stream of mysteries to solve. But consider this! Instead of a fireplace, a frost place! That's my latest idea! I will create the next Ice Age, Iris! An extraordinary hearth from which emanates a cold breeze in the autumn months. What do you think? I think if you invent such a thing, your name would go down in history. The principle is extremely simple. One must, of course, light a cold fire in the hearth. Yes, of course. Brilliant. The trouble is, none of the fires I build here are ever burn cold. How it taunts me. So, as you British say, it's a bit of a damn squib. Now I'm imagining Christoph Gavin. He's creating some giant legacy lawsuit. He spends years trying to sue to ensure that Sherlock is credited as being the inventor of the air condition. Christoph is ensuring his family's legacy. Okay, more stuff. These are different pieces of evidence from cases you solved, aren't they, Mr. Sholmes? Not quite, Mr. Naruto, not quite. These trinkets are a selection from cases I've solved with particular aplomb. They are souvenirs of my success. Memories, Mr. Naruto, memories. Really? So tell me about the case in which the bust of Napoleon featured. I don't remember. I forget. Memories, he says. Wonderful, Mr. Sholmes. Wonderful. Check out the Cray of Mysteries. Ah, yes, the huge metal case with the lace cloth laid on it, being used as a table for tea and coffee. It's very sturdy, that's for sure, and firmly locked shut.
That chest contains my father's detailed records of Hurley's many cases.
Yes, so I've been led to believe. Though personally, I've never actually seen inside.
You don't get to, and that's the way it will stay forever. Those papers are a secret between Daddy and me. If you go opening up uninvited, you might find yourself being beaten.
Iris blasts a cab in your head.
I'm gonna blast a cap in your eyes. Your eyes will be grass, Bruno.
What? Is there a beast inside there or something? No, just Iris and her loaded gun. Just Iris ready to pop a cap off if you start talking back there. Books, papers, scientific implements. These shells are stuffed to the gunwales. Miss Susato wouldn't be able to help herself if she were here. She can't stand messes.
Susie might not be able to stand mess, but she wouldn't dare touch those shells.
Oh, why not?
Because if she did, the stuff would fall down and would consume her. Everything's in intricate pattern. Honey spends ages on it. If you would ever touch even one thing, the whole law would come tumbling down. Susie knows it was very delicate arrangement right from the onset.
You make it sound like a meeting of great minds. But the truth is, Mr. Sholmes just needs to tidy up. Never! Okay, let's go and see Iris's... Let's look at Iris's board. Iris's plans to take over the world. Ah, yes, this is where you note the ideas, isn't it, Iris? What's in the melting pot today? The blue carbuncle.
Yes, it's for a case of theft that Ernie solved ages ago. The theft of a precious stone. It was in his shoe. A carbuncle is a name for a garnet, you see, especially if it's covered around the top.
Oh, really? And this garnet was blue, was it?
Well, that's the thing. They're usually red. No blue garnets have ever been discovered. But Amsey found a way.
Oh?
Who knows what the stone gemstone actually was? That's the real mystery of the case.
A proper Sherlock Holmes conundrum, huh? Iris's tea cart. I look forward to finding out what aroma your tea will have, Iris, every single day.
Ah, well, I've used a different concoction of herbs from the garden every time, so it's never the same twice.
When you call it a concoction, sounds more like a scientific experiment than something for tea time.
Oh, it is half the time. I put a few experimental drugs that I create in my free time. Oh, yes, that's because different plants have very different properties. Some calm you down, some make you feel jolly, some give you energy, and others kill you. Today's particular blend is something quite special, so you're really in for a treat.
That sounds ominous.
Drink your tea, Bruno.
Iris is one day going to take over. Iris, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if in the Ace Attorney universe, Iris just took over the world. Iris rules the earth. She just rules it from the shadows. There are so many different bottles up there on that charming little set of white shelves.
Oh, don't be careful, Bruno. You mustn't try the contents of any of those bottles, even if you're hungry.
I wouldn't do something stupid like that. I'm not a child, you know. Meanwhile, if Larry was here, he would just make a beeline for those bottles and would start sucking it down, just start drinking their contents with no hesitation.
But Amsey, I have to tell Amsey. Well, I wish I could say the same for Hurley. The other day he poured over a full bottle of one of my alkaloids.
I swear, Iris is gonna need to child-proof her bottles. He what?
He said he was hungry.
I'll be extra careful. But yet Sherlock survived.
I can die with my eyes shut, you know.
I can believe it. When a deadline's approaching, you sound like a Gatling gun.
That reminds me of a dream I had the other day. It was a funny one. It woke me, actually. I was robbing a bank with a Gatling gun. It was time for a whole hour in the pitch black, but I didn't make a single mistake.
That's incredible.
But then, when I got light, I found that there wasn't any paper on the machine. And I was wondering if I had actually been typing at all.
I think you might have just fallen asleep on the job. Okay, we checked that out, Okay, anything else over here? No, we're gonna need to go and inspect Sherlock's side of things. Sherlock's messy side. Okay. That machine really is imposing, isn't it? But I can never remember its name.
Because it's great analytic. It can analyze anything at all.
That doesn't really help me. What does analyzing something even mean? Ah! An extremely astute question, Mr. Naruto. Sorry? Well, as I stated, my machine here spits out analysis results of anything with which you get to present it. But how to interpret those results, that's the key, and I confess I have no idea. Clearly, I'm going to have to construct a great analytic to solve the problem. That might not help. Okay, anything else? I always like checking out whatever we can find, whatever we can get our hands on. Because you get some great gems. Like Sherlock consuming an entire bottle of alkaloids. Ah yes, Mr. Sholmes' faithful musical companion. Wasn't this violin made by somebody famous?
Yes, it's a Stradivarius. Oh, I'm afraid you'd have to save up for 100 years before you could afford one, Bruno.
But didn't you buy it for a song, Mr. Sholmes? I found it at a pawnbrokery among the forfeited articles. It clearly said Stradivarius on the label. What? The ignorant broker had no idea of its true value, you see, so I paid a mere 55 shillings for it. Yes, I have something of a turn for shopping. Sherlock Holmes, bargain hunter. I invented the term and I'm trademarking it. And then Christoph, and that clavier is why we get royalty checks whenever a TV show says the word bargain hunting. But is it really a Stradivarius then? But of course, my dear fellow, it says so on the label. I think perhaps the ignorant broker had something of a term for selling. And then I can just imagine Christoph, he brags about his Stradivarius, how Sherlock got it for a steal, and then people are questioning it. Yeah, Christoph, behold my great-great-grandfather Stradivarius. And then Darian, oi, David, how you know that's a real Stradivarius then? It says so on the label, Mr. Crescent. It says so on the label. Okay. Let's move. Let's see if we head back to the office. Yes, Iris follows us around. I know I didn't talk to him, but I want to check it out. Let's check out the area. The shovel. There's the office maid. Now that Susasan-san's gone, the shovelers aren't represented to correct me. Maybe I'll have to do it myself. That's not a spade, Naruto-san. It's a shovel. Okay. Susasan tea said that she left here with me. I still think green tea is still too bare, though. Thank goodness for sugar and milk. Mr. Sholmes certainly wasn't expecting the acrid taste that one time. I never heard anyone let out a scream like that before, or see anyone fall down the stairs quite like that either. It always brings a smile to my lips when I'm feeling a bit down. It's Sherlock falling down a stairway. The kettle's gently simmering away there on top of the stove as usual. It was kind of Susasan to send that Japanese tea. Iris really likes it. But for me, it's the sound of the stove and burbling kettle I like the most on biting winter mornings. The messy desk. Now, at first glance, my desk here might look as though it's a mess. However, it's not a mess at all. Everything is exactly where I want it to be. But whenever Susasan looks at it, she'd put her hands on her hips and say, "Oh dear." Her way of saying that I should make it more orderly and neat mess. I miss that. The office step ladder. Ah yes, the Daruma doll I brought with me from Japan. I always intended to color in the other eye once I become a fully fledged lawyer. But it's still winking at me, like it's trying to say, I can wait, take as long as you need. Sorry. Or maybe not. I'll just have to get back, keep on doing the best I can do, I suppose. Now to answer the big question. Did Rie and Nasuke look into Susao's room? I never did see what Susao's room looks like. I could go in now, of course, but I don't dare. They say a young man's private chambers is a place of bittersweet secrets. Although in the laughter I used to hear when Iris would visit, I imagine it's mainly sweet. Okay, table. It's Susao-san's desk. I suppose it won't get used now that she's gone back to Japan. I'll just have to wait here patiently for its old friend to return. The shrimp. Look at the prawns and anemones gently swaying about the tank. Regular cleaning, some food, and fresh seawater is all they need. And some conversation, of course. It seems like a lot of effort at first, but it was worth it. I'm starting to be able to tell what they're thinking. Funny to think that so many people in London had aquariums like this one, when they were in vogue. You never expect to find sea anemones in the middle of the capital. I think I'll have to name them soon. They'll be all named Charlie. Various of Charlie. Okay, let's head on down. Okay, let's go. Answer some questions. Talk to people. Oh, we have to first present the badge. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, about this. Shh, not another word. Ah, yes, I see. This would be a collar for a breed of miniature canine with a particularly long neck and for winter use. Actually, it's the armband I always wear. That symbolizes my role as a defense lawyer. Precisely, which leads us to one conclusion. Your arm is, in fact, the particularly long neck of a miniature canine. I'm starting to wish I'd never shown him this now. The man's barking mad. I've already been maddened, me and Nasuke, Mr. Naruto. This is the letter that arrived from Japan this morning, by international post.
Oh, how lovely! Look at Susie's beautiful handwriting. I wish I could read it.
And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask? She's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer at the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case.
Ah, really? Oh, isn't that wonderful?
A cut above your good self, my dear fellow. I've won cases too, you know. Apparently, Mr. Natsume appeared in the trial as a witness. Natsume! No, I don't recall that name. Of course you do! We helped the man! Twice! You know, in those two cases that took place on Briar Road 6 months ago? Ah, the mustachioed twitchy man with the somewhat feline eyes and the mustache.
He did not do mustaches, Hurley.
Yes, who could forget those two cases? They made very deep impressions on me. Although I must confess, the details are a little hazy now. A very deep impression they've made on you, clearly. Startling news. So, what was this startling news penned by Miss Susato? You remember the case of the haunted lodgings, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, yes, it's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that a case of that nature did not occur. He's solely forgetting then. Anyways, in her letter, Miss Susato asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. Though it took place half a year ago, for what purpose? Because of something that Mr. Natsume said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodgings. Oh? On Mr. Natsume's return to Japan, Miss Susao's father questioned about the case, she says. And something Mr. Natsume said appeared to trouble Professor Mikusaba, prompting him to send that telegram.
Oh, that case, yes! It was very strange, wasn't it?
Yes, I love how they're now playing the freaking McGilded theme. Oh yes, it was there very strange. I was there haunting the apartment. I was a spooky ghost. Ooh! Get away from me, Spectre! I promised you to Spectre. Why you haunt me? I want you to finish my unfinished business. You must go down to Windy Bank's pawn shop and you must buy my music box disc. It is paramount, or else I will haunt you. I will make the walls bleed red, and I will send shirtless men to your apartment.
And I had complied the whole story to a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication. And I had compiled the story into a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication too. But then Hurley was all funny about it. Remember, he was very mean. That story must not be published, you said. Very mysterious as well.
Really? I said that? Are you sure? Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Miss Susato was suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan?
It's been 4 months now since we weighed Susie off for Dover. It was such a shock, wasn't it? The way she just suddenly announced that she had to go back to Japan.
Indeed it was, due to a telegram she received from her homeland, I believe. That's right, telling her to return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No! It just said he was suffering from high fever, the cause of which was unknown. He's not dead. But according to this letter, that news about her father's fever was just a ruse.
A ruse? So Susie's daddy lied to her so that she'd take the voice back home? Why would he do that?
I have to admit, I have absolutely no idea. And then Sherlock, I know as her father figure myself.
Oh dear God, no, Ramsey, we don't need your input.
No, I have to say it. He was obviously suspicious of Mr. Naruto. He thought that Mr. Naruto was going to take his little girl away. They were going to elope. And they were going to produce a spiky-haired lawyer man. They were going to create a family line that would end up with a spiky-haired defense attorney who bluffs all the time. But she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the haunting lodgings. Sending her back to Japan so suddenly like that. I wonder what Miss Susato's father's hiding.
Harley, do you know what it's all about?
Well, who can say? What? But you said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellows. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. Time to kick a puppy. And a stringent analysis of the matter would be excessive, I believe, even if I were at leisure. So, man the fort in my absence, won't you, Iris?
I will, Harley, don't worry. See you later.
He scuttled off rather quickly there. I think perhaps Professor Mikatoba isn't the only person hiding something here. Soseki-san was involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah! I found them at last.
Iris, are they?
The notes about the case. That's right, Susie and I compiled them together. The case of the haunted lodgings. Do you want to read them, Runo? Want a flashback case, Runo?
Absolutely, thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could still be hiding in the shadows of this case. But perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light.
That's the spirit.
And so, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened to our investigation and that fierce battle in court that followed. Reliving every detail. I just needed to find a clue, and I have all the time in the world. Because, of course, I am no longer allowed to practice law in the court of Great Britain. Van Zeeks barred me from entering the courtroom. He worked tirelessly. It was 6 months ago, a mysterious incident unfolded on the wintry streets of London. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement of Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. The fog was thick, and nobody saw her attacker, but by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time, and was duly arrested. That man was Soseki-san, and the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Sholmes. Believing our compatriot's innocence, Susato-san and I decided to represent Soseki-san in court. And after a grueling trial of many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence. Joyful, joyous, jubilant, jubilation! Was the man's reaction after that trial, but his jubilant jubilation was short-lived. We received a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. The victim of the Briar Road stabbing had regained consciousness. Hurry to the Barts at once. So Susai and I summoned a hansom and headed immediately to the hospital. Yes, we have now flashbacked. There you are, at last! Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. I think not.
Ow!
You're late! What on earth took you so long?
Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Sholmes, and it's a 21-minute ride to the hospital.
That's right, and it's 5:30 now. I think we made very good time. The time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I have been waiting for what has felt like an eternity. 5 minutes is an eternity for me, you know. In point of fact, I myself was woken at 4 this morning by a telegram boy. I threw a rock at him. He cried, but I said, suck it up. Here's some pepper. And feeling it was somewhat unjust, that I atoned for, and that I alone had been roused to now, I said one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyways, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She's only just regained consciousness. You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. So, that lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with the knife in her back.
Her name is... Ah, yes, here we are, Miss Green.
Okay, we'll do that in the next episode. Anyways, I really appreciate that you stuck around to watch this episode. You're a great viewer, and I hope you come back for the next one. If you like this video, like, subscribe, comment, share, do whatever you want. And with that, I'll see you next time. Bye.